There was a time when Laura wanted me just as much as I wanted her. Back when we first got together, she would pull me in for kisses at random times, flash me that playful smirk when no one was looking, and whisper things in my ear that made me want to drop everything and take her right then and there. She wasn't just my wife. She was my best friend, my lover, my partner in every way. For years our love was passionate, exciting, and alive. But now I felt like I was living with a stranger. I don't remember the exact day things changed. It wasn't sudden. She didn't just wake up one morning and stop touching me. No, it happened gradually, so slowly that at first I didn't even notice. It started with the little things. We'd be lying in bed, and I'd turn to her, pressing a soft kiss on her shoulder, my hand sliding under the sheets to pull her closer. She would sigh, "Not tonight, babe. I have a headache." The first time, I didn't think much of it. People get headaches. The next time it was, "I'm exhausted from work. Maybe tomorrow." A few nights later, "I don't know, I just feel off today. Can we just sleep?" Weeks passed, and I started noticing the pattern. There was always something, always an excuse. But what hurt the most was that she didn't even try anymore. She didn't flirt. She didn't tease me like she used to. She didn't reach for me. The woman who once couldn't keep her hands off me now acted like touching me was a chore. I started to wonder, had I done something wrong? At first, I told myself I was overthinking. Maybe she really was tired. Maybe work was stressing her out. Maybe this was just a phase. But then something else changed. It wasn't just that she had lost interest in sex. She had stopped being affectionate altogether. No more random hugs from behind when I was cooking. No more soft kisses on my cheek when I was working. No more playful stares from across the room like she used to do. The warmth we had was gone, replaced by something cold, distant, and empty. And the worst part, she didn't even seem to notice. I didn't want to assume the worst. I loved Laura. I wanted to understand her, not pressure her. So I tried. I really tried. I planned date nights, took her to her favorite restaurants, bought her flowers just because. I made an effort to show her how much she meant to me. I asked her if something was wrong, if I had done anything to upset her. Every time she brushed it off. "It's not you, babe. I'm just not in the mood lately. You know this happens to couples. Passion fades, right? Can we not make a big deal out of this?" That one hurt the most. Not a big deal. Our marriage was becoming a routine. We were turning into roommates instead of lovers. Just two people sharing a space, barely touching, barely talking. And she thought that was normal. As months passed, rejection became routine. I stopped trying so hard because every time I reached for her, I was met with the same disinterested expression. I'd lean in to kiss her, and she'd turn her head at the last second. So my lips landed on her cheek instead. I'd try to hold her hand, and she'd pull away to check her phone. I started feeling like I was forcing something that no longer existed, like I was chasing someone who had already checked out of our marriage. And the worst part, she didn't even seem to care. I started looking at myself differently. Was I not attractive anymore? Had I let myself go without realizing it? It was a Friday night, and Laura had her best friend Jessica over for a few drinks. I had just come home from work exhausted, ready to eat dinner and unwind. I greeted them both in the kitchen, but Laura barely acknowledged me. "Hey," she mumbled, not even looking up from her phone. Jessica gave me a polite nod, then turned her attention back to Laura. I felt invisible. I sighed and went to the bedroom, figuring I'd just watch some TV and leave them to their conversation. But then I heard my name. "Mark still tries, you know. He actually still wants me," Laura said with a laugh. Jessica snorted. "Oh, really? After all this time?" "I know, right? It's exhausting." That word made my stomach twist. I stepped closer to the door, my heart pounding in my chest. "God, I don't even know how you do it," Jessica continued. "If I wasn't into my man anymore, I'd be out of there." And then Laura said the words that would haunt me forever. "It's not like I love him, Jess. I just tolerate him." I froze. My hands clenched into fists. My chest tightened. My breath caught in my throat. Tolerate. Like I was a burden. Like I was an obligation. If he wasn't paying for everything, I'd be gone already, she added casually, as if she wasn't tearing my heart apart. Jessica giggled. So you're just milking it until something better comes along? Laura let out a dramatic sigh. Exactly. That was it. That was the moment I broke. I had suspected it. I had felt the distance, the rejection, the way she avoided me like I was some stranger in my own home. But hearing her say it out loud, that was different. It was like a knife to the chest, twisting deeper with every word. She didn't just fall out of love with me. She didn't even respect me. I wasn't her husband anymore. I was her safety net, her walking ATM. Someone she could use and tolerate until she found a better option. And the worst part? She had been doing this for months, maybe even years. I stood there frozen. My mind raced. I could have stormed in right then and there, confronted her, yelled, demanded answers. But something stopped me, because I realized something important. She thought I was still blind. She thought I had no idea what she really felt. She thought she was still in control. And that's when I decided. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't even going to argue. I was going to make her regret every single word she just said. That night, I acted like nothing had changed. I walked into the kitchen, grabbed a drink, and smiled at them like I hadn't just heard my wife say she was only with me for my money. You guys having fun? I asked, keeping my tone casual. Laura barely looked at me. Yeah, we're just chatting. Jessica, however, gave me a weird look, almost like she felt guilty. Good. At least one of them had a conscience. I leaned against the counter, taking a sip of my drink. You know, Laura, I was thinking we should plan a little getaway. Just the two of us. Maybe rekindle things a bit. I watched as her entire body stiffened. She forced a smile. Oh, that sounds nice, babe. We'll talk about it later, okay? I could see the lie in her eyes. She had no intention of going anywhere with me. To her, I was just a temporary situation. Someone to tolerate until she found someone richer, better, more exciting. She thought she had all the time in the world to leave me on her terms. What she didn't know was that I had already decided to leave her first. And I was going to make sure she left with nothing. That night, as Laura slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, my mind racing. She thought I was blind to the truth. She thought I would keep paying for her life, while she secretly resented me. But that was about to change. Because starting the very next day, she was going to feel what real rejection felt like. She was going to know what it was like to be invisible. And when I finally left her, she would have nothing left. She had spent months rejecting me. Now it was my turn to reject her. And soon, Laura was going to realize something she had never expected. She had been so focused on finding a better man that she never saw the moment she became the woman no man would ever want again. Because when I was done, she wouldn't just lose me. She would lose everything. Some men break down when they hear the woman they love doesn't respect them. Some men beg for affection, for answers, for one last chance to fix things. Some men lash out in anger, screaming, arguing, demanding explanations. But me? I did none of that. Because when I heard my wife admit that she tolerated me only for my money, something inside me shifted forever. I didn't want her back. I didn't want her apologies. I didn't even want revenge in the traditional sense. I wanted her to feel what real loss looked like. And unlike her, I wasn't going to announce it to the world. I was going to move in silence until the day she woke up and realized she had nothing left. The first thing I did was take away her comfort. Laura had built her life around the assumption that I would always be there. Always paying, always providing. So I started making subtle changes, the kind she wouldn't immediately notice. I moved all my savings and income into a new bank account, one she couldn't access. I removed her from every joint financial account. I slowly started canceling every service she depended on, without telling her. One morning, she went to book a hair appointment. Her card declined. "Mark, there's something wrong with the account," she said, her voice laced with confusion. I looked at her calmly, emotionless. "Oh yeah, I had to make some changes. Things are tight financially right now." She frowned. "Tight? But you just got a bonus last month." I shrugged. "Yeah, but we need to start cutting back. You should probably watch your spending too." The panic in her eyes was subtle, but it was there. And that was just the beginning. For months, Laura had rejected me, ignored me, avoided me, made me feel like I was a burden in my own marriage. So now it was her turn. I stopped talking to her unless absolutely necessary. No greetings in the morning. No casual conversations. No effort to engage or acknowledge her at all. When she complained, I would just nod and mumble, "Oh yeah," then go back to my phone. She started noticing the shift. "Mark, why are you acting weird?" "What do you mean?" I'd reply, playing dumb. "You barely talk to me anymore." I shrugged. "I figured I'd stop bothering you. You never seemed interested in talking before." Her eyes flashed with something, guilt, frustration. Maybe both. For the first time in a long time, she looked bothered. And that was only the start. Laura prided herself on her social status. She had always acted like she was better than me, like she deserved a richer, more exciting man. So I started turning the people around her against her. How? Simple. I started attending social gatherings alone. Work events. I went alone. Friend hangouts. I went alone. Family visits. I told them she was too busy. People started asking questions. "Where's Laura?" "She's just not feeling well lately," I'd say casually. And when friends and family started reaching out to her, she panicked. "Mark, why are you telling people I'm not feeling well?" she snapped one night. I raised an eyebrow. "Aren't you? I mean, you haven't been yourself in months." That hit her differently, because for the first time, she was seeing what it felt like to be sidelined, ignored, excluded, made to feel like a ghost in her own life. Now that she was emotionally wrecked, it was time for the final move, the one that would destroy her completely. I told her I wanted a divorce. No argument. No dramatic fights. Just a simple statement over dinner. "Laura, I think we should go our separate ways." She stared at me, completely stunned. "Wait, what?" "We both know this isn't working," I said calmly. "I've already spoken to a lawyer. I'll be moving out in a week. You should start figuring out your next steps." Her face drained of color. "Mark, I thought we were just going through a rough patch. We can fix this." I laughed. Actually laughed. "You had months to fix it, Laura. You chose to tolerate me instead. But now, I don't tolerate you." She burst into tears. She tried begging, apologizing, gaslighting, everything. But I was already done. And the best part? She had nothing. No savings. No backup plan. No security. I had quietly transferred all assets into my name. The house. Mine. The car. Mine. The finances. All locked away where she couldn't touch them. She thought she could drain me dry. Instead, she was the one left broke, alone, and with nowhere to go. Laura had no job. No money. No plan. She had spent years living off my hard work, assuming I would always be there. Now, she was calling friends for a place to stay. She was struggling to pay for her own basic needs. She was finally feeling what it was like to be truly alone. And me, I was thriving. I had a better apartment, a fresh start, and the weight of a loveless marriage off my shoulders. I started dating again, seeing women who actually appreciated me. I rebuilt myself, stronger than ever. One day, months later, I ran into Laura at a coffee shop. She looked different. Not confident. Not arrogant. Not like the woman who once acted like she was too good for me. She looked worn out. Tired. Completely broken. She looked at me, eyes filled with something close to regret. "Mark, I miss you." I smirked. "I know." And then I walked away, because she wasn't worth a single second of my time. Laura thought she could reject me, ignore me, and use me until she was ready to leave on her terms. But life doesn't work that way. If you treat someone like they're disposable, don't be surprised when they're the ones who throw you away first.